If you make a lot of content like me, you are going to need help. And that is why we use Minvo.pro, a slicing and dicing tool that uses AI to conjure up incredible clips from your podcasts and meetings. If you make content, go to Minvo.pro to cut it.
Can we start with your name and job title, please?
My name is Shoaib Malik, and recently I've joined Pakistan Cricket Board as a mentor for one of the domestic team, and still playing cricket. Yes, I've cut down a lot of the leagues all over the world, but still training hard and trying to compete at a higher level, but not for Pakistan.
When I, as an analyst and media professional, look at the PCB, and this is not new, ever since I was a kid, the main theme that kind of speaks out loud to me is a lack of professionalism. And very recently, we've seen, multiple chairmen, selectors, coaches, like all of these guys have changed at a very high frequency. So, how much does this hurt Pakistan cricket?
Well, in my opinion, if there is no clarity, then I don't think you'll be able to get consistent results. Okay, the scenario is that a lot of the chairmen or the stakeholders have changed in terms of even a lot of the selectors, and they have changed as well in the recent past consistently. I think those things are there, but the best thing is happening is this champions tournament, which they have brought in the system. And this is why they have hired five mentors, and they have given them all the power when it comes down to those 30 to 35 players, which we have selected. And I guess that, as I mentioned earlier as well, that good things are happening, even though our graph is like going up and down a lot. But this is why they sat down the stakeholders and they have decided to come up with something new. And this is why they brought these tournaments. And in my opinion, things are going in the right direction. Of course, it's going to take time to bring back that consistency in Pakistan cricket.
Just on the mentors, obviously you mentioned it a few different times. So you and I both worked in franchise cricket before. We know that quite often someone is called a mentor and they're paid a lot of money to sit on the bench and that they're reading a paper when everyone's training and that they're not that interested in the cricket. It's not the best name. It sounds like what you're really talking about is less of a mentor role and almost more like someone who's involved in maybe elements of coaching, elements of tactics, and maybe a little bit of selection and everything else. It feels like it's not a normal mentor role the way that we see in some of those franchise leagues.
Yeah, it is not a normal mentor role where you're coming and just you're talking about franchise cricket. So
Yeah.
as a mentor, your role is just to sit on the bench and give inspiring speeches and just to get their confidence and get the best out of them during the tournament. But here it's a different thing. It's a 3-year contract, and we have provided five high performance centers alongside the grounds. So we have it. It's like a whole year job, and where we are supposed to give 240 days in a year. So, and if you look at all five mentors, except one person who never captained Pakistan cricket, but if you talk about rest of the four mentors, where Waqar Yunus, Misbah Haq, myself, and Sarfaraz, we have captained Pakistan cricket team. So we have given even this authority to select our own staff, where we have uh, spin bowling coach, pace bowling coach, and then physio trainer. It's like a whole staff, and alongside with the head coach. So it's like a whole staff, and they'll be working throughout the year with all these guys in high performance centers. So I guess it's like a 24/7. What I think that if you want to be consistent as an athlete, as a professional athlete, then it's like a 24/7 job. So as you mentioned, that the missing part is professionalism. Professionalism is not just you're like improving in your skill. You're telling your product at the same time or guiding them how to recover from a game, how to play back to back games, and be consistent at it. So this is why they have come up with this plan where we have all the authority when it comes down to grooming them and providing them the best facilities where they improve their skills as well as their professionalism.
Yeah, so Shoaib
Yeah, I
bhai,
mean, sorry, go, Behram.
yeah. Yeah, so Shoaib bhai, you mentioned the high performance centers, and what I'm understanding is that this mentor role is actually an all encompassing role. And you also have to look at player development in this because you said that you have to spend 240 days at the high performance center or academy. Just to get a bit more clarity on this, because I feel like no one truly understands what the role is. So, what exactly are your tasks? Who do you report to? And how is a mentor's performance evaluated?
I think the chairman, we sat with him, and now we need one person who we can report to. And I guess the way our staff, they are going to report to us as mentors. And the same goes for PCB as well. They are going to hire a director
Hmm.
who we can report to. And if we want anything in our high performance centers, we can ask that person, so that that thing is there. And also, it's not just about these 30-35 players. There is women team under 19. They are also coming, and then there'll be men's under 19 team as well. So there'll be 3 4 different teams. We are going to work with them. We are going to develop those players, and so we can see consistent results. And I guess our product, when they go and compete at a higher level, you could see that professionalism part is missing. There are other elements as well, and where how to recover from a game, and what all exercises, what all training schedules, and all these kind of things are missing. Even it comes down to this element as well, where your diet plan, nutritionist plan, what you're supposed to eat. This is very, very important. We are only working on how to improve your skill, but improving your skill, I think, is this is also as important as improving your skill is to how to recover. When your body is responding 100%, that means you have a better chance of being consistent in all the games.
So, I mean, rather than being, let's park the word mentor. I know that's what it's called, but rather than being a mentor, really what the five of you are trying to do is to train everyone in what it is like to be a professional cricketer. And so Pakistan has no problem with talent. We all know that. There are talented players in Pakistan at all times. But the issue has been matching that with being professional cricketers. So is that what you see your main skill and some of the main skill of the other players is to say, this is how you train, this is how you eat, as you said before, this is how you live your life, so that they understand it at the lower levels, even at under 19 levels, what it is like to be a professional cricketer, rather than just being good at cricket and then having to learn it when they play for Pakistan.
Well, talent can't bring consistency. On talent, maybe you can survive, but we are not here to survive. We are here to lift trophies. And this is why we want our product to be ready for the best possible, how do you call it? Best possible results. And this is why they have given us this responsibility. And in my opinion, if you have talent, fair enough. But how to stay consistent? You have to live a disciplined life. And if you are not living a disciplined life, you can't be a consistent athlete. And I guess I don't really believe in talent and all that. The world has gone to a different level, and here we are still discussing that we have talent, we have talent. I think the talent part is left way behind, and now it's to groom. And I can give you a small example. For Pakistan, Yunus Khan is the only cricketer who scored 10,000 runs in Test cricket in the world. And if you look at, he's nothing in front of Inzamamul Haq, but he's the only guy. There are many big names in Pakistan as well, but he's the only one who scored 10,000 runs. It's because of hard work. because of his work ethics. So this is why we are here to groom our product where they are ready and they can be consistent.
So Shoaib bhai, you obviously debuted for Pakistan in '99. So you played with Inzi bhai and Yunus bhai, and you've seen kind of time progress and Pakistan's level of cricket kind of go along with that. And you've seen multiple eras in which professionalism was different. I remember that in the 2010s, admitted that you weren't at those levels of professionalism prior, and then you started to really work on that stuff and started to hit the gym. And even today, I mean, you're fit as a fiddle. Where do you see those levels of professionalism currently within the national setup? I'm not talking about domestic cricket. I'm talking about the guys at the top.
Look, if you look at big names like Babar Azam, Shaheen Shah Afridi, Rizwan, I think these guys have been consistently performing wherever they play. I think their work ethics is good, and the same thing we want them to spread in our lower level as well. This is why these champions tournaments is making sure the stakeholders and us sitting down. In fact, we sat down in a few meetings and where we have planned that when we should be keeping these champions tournaments when our international players they are free, so everyone should be participating in these tournaments. So I think the if I compare our domestic cricketers with national cricketers, there is a lot a difference, and this is why to cut down the difference between our national players and domestic players. This is why they brought these champions tournaments, and I'm sure these tournaments will bring a lot of professionalism in them. And as mentors, we are going to have a lot of lectures about what should be eating during the tournament,
Hmm.
off season, what kind of training you should be doing. So there'll be a lot of lectures on those things as well. It's not just improving your skill. So in my opinion, there is a lot to improve in our domestic cricket when it comes down to be a professional athlete.
Do you understand why, when we heard this, we were concerned? Because recent times we've seen Muhammad Hafiz come into the squad. We saw Wahab Riaz come in. And Wahab talked about former players. It feels like anytime something goes wrong in Pakistan cricket, there's only two answers: foreign coach or former star, right? And what we really want, and I say this as an outsider, but I've always loved Pakistan cricket. But what we really want is like the structures that you were talking about. And you're now explaining it in a really good way to people like me and Behram and to the audience who are going to understand this. But when the PCB announced it, the first word they hear is mentors, and we think of Viv Richards sitting on the bench, and that side of things. So do you see how there needs to be better communication between the PCB and the fans so that they understand what you're actually trying to do?
Maram, I think if you're bringing someone on board, make sure you give clarity to that person, because
Yeah.
if you're hiring a professional, that means you know that the person knows his job. You just give clarity. Once you give clarity, then you see consistency whatever in your organization. So I think the clarity should be given the way clarity have been given to our mentors. I can only answer for that.
Yeah.
We have gotten the clarity. They told us what they expect from us and what we should be doing or would be doing to for our domestic players or our new product. So I think the same goes whoever you're hiring. I don't know if they have given that clarity to those people, but yes, having said that, if you're hiring someone, make sure that you give clarity what exactly you expect from that person, and if that person's not producing or not bringing results after a year or so, then you can question that person. So I guess it's a lot is happening here as well. When the pressure comes from the social media, then
Mm.
everything is like here and there. So I guess the best thing is if you're hiring someone, whatever kind of pressure you're going to get as an organization, back that person because you brought that person. There was a reason behind it. So I think whatever pressure comes, if the person is doing his job and going in the right direction, results will come.
Yeah, no, that's fair. I feel like the PCB was very clear, when they hired you, and you know what the job spec is. But the communication with respect to, the media probably hasn't been as good because we don't know these things that you are just now telling us, right? I think that's where all of that gap in communication comes from. But you also spoke of, these Champions tournaments or Champions Cups are organized in windows where your international players are available. How does that kind of fit in with an injury management perspective? Because if they're playing all year round, when they're not playing for the national team, they're playing in the Champions Cups, wouldn't fatigue build and risk of injury also build? How do you view all of that?
If you look at this season, so you hardly see any gap. You only see that some tournament is happening. So this is why we all sat with the domestic stakeholders as mentors and for international director as well. So we did discuss about all these things, but they have already made a plan for this year. But from next year, they will cut down a lot of domestic cricket as well, because all these athletes, they need rest as well, and also we need time with them where we can groom them up, besides their skill as well. So this year, yes, you see a lot of tournaments, but from next year there'll be lesser tournaments in our domestic cricket, and you see that they're getting rest as well. It's not about, if you want to be a professional athlete, you can't be on your toes 24/7. You need rest, you need time with your family as well. So this is why we are going to sit again, where we can plan a better season for our athletes.
And from your perspective, you mentioned how you will be working 240 years, in a year. And, oh, sorry, 240 days in a year. 240 years is a
Yeah,
lot.
Hopefully, he's not working for 240
Yeah.
years.
240 days out of
I don't know
365.
if I'm going to live for
Yeah.
so many years.
Yeah, but so 240 days out of 365 means that when there is no Champions Cup happening, I'm assuming you will be in Sialkot in a high performance sector. What do you call it? High performance center, looking over
Harbor
all of
Center.
these young players and grooming them and looking after their diet and telling them how to train and be professionals. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct. And especially, our thing is, when these Champions Cup tournaments are happening, we have to be there at the ground and be with them. And when the camps are there, then we are bound to give 6 days a month when these tournaments are not happening. But our staff and everyone will be there, and we will continue visiting them and spending time with them on Zoom as well when there'll be lectures.
Fair enough.
Um, just from a perspective of every time we get a new PCB chairman, we get a new competition, we get a new structure, we get everything else. I think you and I and Behram as well, all three of us know that really what needs to happen is a good system is used for 3 or 4 years to work out how long the results are. Are you worried that the same thing is going to happen again? That you guys put in a really good system and then in 9 months' time, you're all told, sorry, new chairman, he doesn't want to do this anymore?
Well, if you ask me this question, I can answer on my behalf is that I'm not worried. I'm a professional athlete and I got a job to do. So till the time I have this job, I'm gonna give my best. So, but what I can control, I should be worried about. What I can't control, I should not be worried. And look, this country has given enough to me, and now it's time to give back to the country. And I'm not worried about anything. Yes, this chairman, I know personally, this chairman, when he was not a chairman, so he's an old friend, and he wants to do things for Pakistan cricket, and where he has given power to his team, to us as well. And if I go back, I couldn't see the communication between the players and the chairmans. But with this guy, all the players, they have the access. Whenever they want to get in touch with him, they can. and good things are happening. As you said, these things continuously happening. So then we can see consistent results.
So Shoaib bhai, you
I,
obviously, mentioned how, you've got a good rapport with the chairman. There's been a lot of clarity, and you yourself are going to be a professional, right? And will try to do your job as well as you possibly can. But just a bit more on continuity. Fakhr Zaman recently came out and said that you'll see results from Champions Cups when it'll be continued for a few years. In the recent past, we've seen so many different domestic structures and there is no continuity whatsoever. And this does hurt both domestic cricketers and even international cricketers because the recent, departments or them coming back, a lot of players have complained that they weren't picked up by departments for a long time. There seems to be a lot of different tournaments going on right now. So, what path do you see forward for the PCB when it comes to domestic structure?
I think the best way is if they have made a plan, just stick to it for at least couple of years and then see if the results are coming, then stick to it. If results are not coming, then don't change the whole thing. Change little if you really think that you would want to change. But when you always start, when you get failures and you start from the scratch, you're not gonna reach anywhere. But just fix the fixable stuff, not the whole thing. So this is why they have made a structure. They should, yes, in my opinion, they should cut down a bit. It's like 33 first class games, departmental cricket, region cricket. I understand it's the need of the country. But I think cutting down these games or these tournaments, it's very, very important. Because if I play as a professional athlete throughout the year, when will I sit and think and recall what needs to be done, what mistakes I've done during the season, where I need improvement? If I'm just on my toes, that means the machine is just going and not improving and not producing consistent results. But yes, from next year there'll be a better structure for our domestic cricket, and there'll be more clarity towards cricketers as well.
So, from a player's perspective, I've got the President's Trophy, you've got the ODI tournament and the first class tournament, you've got the Qaid Azam Trophy, National T20, and Champions Cup for all three formats. If I'm a player who wants to represent Pakistan, is the Champions Cup, all three formats, the one I really want to perform in to kind of come into the limelight and for the selectors to pick me?
Not necessary, not necessary, because everything is on record.
Hmm.
So wherever you perform, of course, it's selector's responsibility or think tank's responsibility to assess the player. I, if the player is ready to compete at a higher level, then yes. But on the other side, I would like to mention this as well. In the recent past, any new player was coming from T20 format.
Hmm.
But now they should be coming from 4 day cricket and 1 day cricket, not from T20. And whoever is performing in T20 cricket, I must mention PSL thing here. So players were playing one good innings or one good spell or two good innings or two good spells. They were they were coming and getting their opportunity in Pakistan national team. Now that's not gonna happen. They have to perform consistently at least for a season or 2 season, and then they should be getting an opportunity for Pakistan. Because in T20 cricket, maybe you get one situation where you just have, as a batter, you just have to go there and score runs and hit boundaries, right? As a bowler, you just have to bowl 24 overs, 24 balls, sorry, 24 balls. But if your product is coming from 4 day cricket and 1 day cricket, when there'll be three situations. One is the game is in your favor. The second one, the game is even. And the third one, the momentum is on the other side. So now your product is coming from three different situations and your product is ready, especially when you're competing at a higher level against bigger teams. Then you need to deal with those three different conditions. So this is why we have been struggling in ODI cricket and test cricket. T20, we are still here. But when we talk about test cricket and ODI cricket, these are the reasons we were selecting players from T20 format. And that's why we are struggling when it comes down to an ODI cricket and Test cricket.
If you make any content, Minvo Pro is the tool for you. Take your long format content and cut it and slice it for social media. This AI inspired weapon will turn your one piece of work into so many clips. Try Minvo.pro now.
So you probably are one of the world's leading experts in NOCs, non-objective certificates. You must have a collection of them at home. Maybe you built a second wing of your house with them. You've got so many at this point. Your professionalism as a cricketer comes as much from playing outside of Pakistan as it does from coming in, right? And we see that with a lot of the West Indian cricketers as well. There's a huge issue that the PCB want to control where their players play and how often they play it. And yet they've got a mentor in you who actually built his game largely from traveling around the world and being a professional. That's not an easy thing to work out on which side you want to be on, because you understand how much a player can learn playing in Guyana, or playing in county cricket or anywhere else. But at the same time, PCB want to rest their players and they want to get them right and they want to work with them. How do you work out the difference between letting them earn what they want to earn and learn what they want to learn, and playing for you when you need them and training with you when you need them?
Well, in this case, two parties are involved. So I guess this has to be fair. It's not just PCB what they want and that players should be doing, or what players want and PCB should be doing. Right. So it's a middle. There has to be middle ground. So the middle ground is, yes, players, they want to earn money. They want to play all over the world wherever they're getting opportunities. But yeah, I would like to give an example here. Indian cricket. So Indian players, they don't go and participate in rest of the leagues. Of course, their numbers are big as compared to ours, but their market is massive. So it, look, I've played more than 500 T20 professional games. I've played all over the world, but I never left a domestic tournament. So I have always participated in a domestic tournament because that's my base. And even our cricketers, they should prioritize their domestic cricket, because it's not just representing your country, doing well. No, you have other responsibilities as well in terms of playing your domestic tournaments and grooming your youngsters at the same time. But having said that, whenever there's a free window and you have seen their workload, and then allow the players to go and participate in those leagues. But I always say clarity brings consistency. So there has to be clarity between Pakistan Cricket Board and players as well. And don't just say that you are allowed to play only two leagues and you're gonna get only two NOCs. No, let's not put a number on that. Whenever there's a window, allow your players to go and play, because I still remember when I was out of the team from 2010 to 2014, I've played all over the world and I learned the most in those days. And thanks wherever I have played, I've shared dressing room with the various players. And I think the best thing comes in you is that you become a professional. You know how to wash your clothes, you know how to clean your apartment. So there are so many things. You interact with different cultures and you learn so much. So this is why let's not put a number on players' NOC, but yes, players' responsibility is to give priority to your domestic tournaments.
So Shoaib, you mentioned how, I like the fact that you think that you shouldn't put a number on it and that if a player is not playing any cricket, they should be allowed, right?
I thought you were going to say, I like the fact that you had to do your own clothes.
No. I've been there. I lived 11 years in Canada, Jarrod.
Trust me. I was during Big Bash, and I was in Hobart. Everything shuts by 6 p.m. and I had nothing
sometimes
to do.
earlier.
And people, yeah, that's true. And we are from subcontinent where our day starts 2 p.m. At 2 p.m. and the day ends like midnight. So imagine everything was like shut at 6 p.m. and sometimes 5 p.m. and then I had nothing to do. So what I've done, I washed clothes again. So I had nothing to do. So it's a great fun.
Yeah. So coming to
Washing
my
cutlery.
yeah. I know exactly what you're talking about, of course. I was 17 when I went abroad, having not done a single chore in my life. But of course, that's a long time ago. But there have been instances with respect to NOC Shoaib Bhai where, for instance, Mohammad Haris isn't playing any domestic cricket or no team has picked him up and his BPL contract, I mean, he had one, but the NOC was denied once he was already there. And then Osama Mir most recently was set to play in the Vitality Blast and he wasn't playing any cricket in Pakistan and that NOC was also denied. What this does, Shoaib Bhai, and I know this from people in franchises from abroad, is that it deters them to pick Pakistan cricketers in the first place. They don't want to take that risk. And since you learn so much from all of the franchises that you played for, this is not a proper pathway or roadmap. Like there has to be a better solution to this.
Definitely, I can share one of the stories since you have asked this question about NOCs. So I was playing, and there were other Pakistani players as well. We all were playing Caribbean Premier League, and then suddenly we got a fitness test, and then we have requested at least. Of course, it was part of central contract thing. So we requested, okay, at least send a trainer so he can take our fitness testing in Caribbean rather 10 or 15 players coming from there and coming all the way to Pakistan and give fitness tests. So they have denied that request from us. So we all flew back to Pakistan. We gave fitness testing, and our franchise they didn't take us back. Most of us, so they have taken replacements for us. So of course these things are there. It requires a lot of clarity, and this is why all mentors and domestic stakeholders and international now the Pakistan cricket tours till 2027 are finalized and the FTP is out. And the same thing we want in our domestic cricket as well, where every player who are going to participate knows wherever the leagues are happening. So there'll be a lot of clarity. And this is why I said, let's not put a number when there's a window, then of course you can go and play. And as you mentioned, yes, there are issues and those issues needs to be addressed and we have already addressed them. Even stakeholders in Pakistan Cricket Board and the chairman, they want better things for our cricketers as well. So a lot of the meetings have been happening and there'll be a lot of clarity in terms of our domestic tournaments as well as international tours or home series. So there'll be a lot of clarity in terms of NOCs as well. So everything is related to one thing is that clarity where we know our domestic season or whatever tournament is starting from this date to this date and our international tour whoever's touring to Pakistan or our team is touring abroad. So there'll be a lot of clarity. So then even the players and the PCB, they can plan their future plans.
It's an interesting one. It's something I've been thinking about a lot of that you were really one of the earlier professional cricketers from Pakistan. I know that other cricketers were professional, but because of the franchise leagues, you had to become professional in a different way. And it's like you and I both know in the CPL, there are many fitness trainers that they could have hired for the day. You all could have turned up in the CPL and done your fitness training there. How hard is it to be professional as an athlete when the cricket board is still amateur and doesn't always do things correctly?
Can't just criticize our cricket board, not now, even in the past. Look, if I am a professional, then I have to set a benchmark for my goals. Even my fitness level comes in that. So I rather call it assessment of myself. Where do I stand today and where I want to achieve in the coming days or maybe next year. So as a professional, it's my responsibility. It should be running 2 kilometers or whatever tests are there in that fitness testing. This should be
Oh,
walk in
no, I
the
get
park.
that. I
Yeah,
get
yeah.
that. I'm not saying that you shouldn't be fit. That's the bit you can control. But you are literally fit enough to be playing in a franchise league. And then you have to fly back to Pakistan when we both know that there are fitness trainers in the West Indies who could have looked at your results. Like I suppose what I'm saying is you were doing everything you could to maximize your professional nature, right? Food, diet, doing your own laundry, whatever you have to do. But you were in a system that was a bit amateur at times and made decisions that didn't always benefit Pakistan cricket.
Can you ask this question again, because I don't want to miss anything. I really want to answer this properly.
So basically what I'm saying is, when I've been covering Pakistan cricket since 2007, right?
Right.
From 2007 to 2024, it has been very rare that I've looked at the Pakistan cricket team or the PCB specifically and thought that is a high-level professional team, right?
Right.
From 2007, I've also covered county teams and Sheffield Shield teams, and they are very professional in the way that they are run. So you, as a cricketer, were very professional, right? I can see that from a distance. I've never met you before, other than the odd press conference, but you were a professional. So my question is, how hard is it to be a professional like you were in a PCB that is quite often run in a bit of an amateur way? Like, it isn't run at the same level.
I think I understand we need more cricketers in Pakistan Pakistan Cricket Board setup. We need more cricketers, especially your international director has to be a sensible cricketer. Why? Because if uh, we lost most of our home series recently by
Mm.
preparing pitches. If we wanted to prepare a spinning pitch, we couldn't. If we
Yep.
wanted to prepare a seamer helper, we couldn't. It
Mm.
always helping the touring team. So your red ball captain, or if you have one captain in all three formats, the captain should be sitting with the curator and your international director. So I guess it becomes a lot more easier when two cricketers dealing with each other, and then you actually come to a conclusion. So what your answer is like, it's now as mentors our responsibility, and
Yep.
then they have Gary Kirsten, and then they have Jason Gillespie to tell them, okay, these are the requirements we need to bring consistency in our cricket and in cricketers. So we need more cricketers as directors in Pakistan Cricket Board. That's what I think. We need more cricketers to be associated with Pakistan Cricket Board. That's where we can bring more professionalism in our cricket, and even the same goes down in our cricket as well. And I guess the five mentor things is best thing happened, not because I'm part of it, but what I see from outside. I see a lot of positives in this, and I guess we have gotten. It's just that we need those high performance centers with the ground, and not just when champions tournament are happening. That's when we are competing against each other. It's just that when we are there to develop our players, so one of our mentor bringing his team to our high performance, and we playing games where we
Mm.
can improve their skills as well, and these kind of things will happen. But yes, it requires time, it requires consistency, and it requires same setup for at least couple of years.
So,
I know Behram's got a question that's really important, but are you going to make the players do their own laundry?
No, not at all. Not at all. But I'm sure they should be doing at their own places.
Yeah.
So their parents,
No, I get it.
we have that culture. We have that culture where even even today, I do my own laundry. I just have to put it in a machine and put some washing powder and some liquid, and then you just have to take out your clothes. And I guess it's a good thing to do. You should know everything in life, how to deal with any situation. Anything arises, you should be pro at it.
yeah, it's all part of the learning experience, of course. You've mentioned the director role a few times. Rob Key does something similar at the ECB. He's the managing director. And very recently, the PCB did appoint Waqar Yunus as the consultant to the chairman on all cricketing affairs. To my understanding, that role is still vacant, and you are currently looking for someone to, or for someone to occupy it.
Well, look, we as mentors, we really want one point of contact, and we have already requested Pakistan Cricket Board. And I guess you have to have a point of contact. If you have that, then it becomes a lot more easier when you're communicating. If you need anything or you need any requirement, so it becomes a lot more easier. Yes, there has to be a point of contact, and that point of contact, if you bring it in a different language, it's like clarity. So your point of contact is your clarity. So I think the point of contact is very important, and this is why chairman recently started this connection thing.
Hmm.
And their players and the chairman, they have the access to reach out to each other. They can address the issues, and I guess these kind of things are very important.
No, the connection camp definitely has some sort of value. And in the past, players have felt very insecure. And these are international players who are representing Pakistan. And you often see Pakistan play their first team versus every single team they play. Nepal in the Asia Cup at home, first team will play. You don't really see this from other international teams. So, even from a fitness perspective, fatigue perspective, that is worrisome. And then also, I think a lot of it comes from the players was just wanting to play everything because they feel insecure. So, do you have anything to add to that?
Well, I've already met Gary Kirsten, and I've suggested this thing to him. Whenever your team is touring to Australia, New Zealand, South Africa, England, uh, India in future maybe, then your number one team should be touring and playing those games. But when you're touring to other countries, or they're coming to play home series at your place, then there has to be mix and match your senior players with your newcomers. And I guess he really liked this suggestion. And also, in my opinion, when we talk about your pace bowlers, then we have to see their workload. And if you're playing as a batter, I understand the more you play, you gain more experience. But when your pacers, they need rest as well. We really have to look after their workload, and they have to be fresh. So I think he really liked that idea. Whenever we are playing against relatively smaller sides, newcomers should be getting more opportunities, and that's how you can groom them and give them that international exposure. And once they are ready, then you can put them against bigger teams as well.
All right. Well, we've asked all the important questions about laundry and the PCB and mentors. Recently, you fixed Babar Azam, and he's making runs again. So, how did you fix Babar Azam, and why is he making runs?
Well, when we talk about Babar Azam, he doesn't need any help because he's been so consistent. He scored runs all over the world. Yes, against spin bowling, I had a word with him, and I said, where do you stand? I mean, what guard do you take when you're facing spinners? Or so he said, I stand on a middle stump or sometime on two leg, middle leg and leg stump. The two leg is like right in between middle stump and leg stump. So I said, can you stand on a leg stump and then play spin? So I asked him to bat in the nets. So he tried that, and then we exchanged words, and he said, well, it's helping. Then he asked me, what benefit will I get if I stand on leg stump? I said, look, against mystery spinner, when you stand on middle stump, you don't know which way ball's gonna turn. So if you miss anything, that means you're out. The leg before element, if you're standing on leg stump, that leg before element is out of your batting. So don't provide that opportunity to them. So then he started standing on leg stump, and then he scored runs. It's not because what I've suggested to him. End of the day, he's a professional. He practiced, and then he thought, okay, this is the thing I should be doing in a game as well. And there was another thing which was against 140. his back leg wasn't really moving. When you're playing a back football, then your back leg has to move, has to go back. So that his leg wasn't moving. He was trying to manage everything on the front foot. So me and my team, we have worked on that as well, where his back leg should be moving when he's facing 140 plus bowlers and playing at the back foot. So these two things we told him, and he's done those things. He tried those things in a practice sessions, and it's helping for him.
So you're saying it's about the toes?
Not really. It's because of your
Oh, come on,
mindset.
give us something. Give us something.
It's-
We did a whole video about Babar Azam's toes. You couldn't just give us that?
I think it's you know, as a professional, if you are so consistent in your career and someone advising you something,
Yeah.
and you're taking it and you're trying it out in practice sessions and it's helping, then I guess the credit goes to him, because he thought, okay, I need improvement, especially against spin. And there was another element which I've forgotten to mention, is that when he was standing on the middle stump against spin bowlers, so against left arm spinner, if anything was pitching in the middle, he was playing towards onside. So once he started standing on the leg stump, now the same ball which lands on the middle stump or towards off stump, he's playing either straight or towards mid off, and it's helping.
Do you
And a lot of these things are like, he would have been told these things before when he was in bad form, or he might have been told them when he was in good form. A lot of it is, as you said before, it's about making him feel comfortable at the time, right? Like, I mean, a player of his ability sees batting in a different way than even you do as a professional. And so what you're trying to do really is give him the opportunity to just have a look and feel more comfortable again, right? And then, as you said, he has to make the big decision because it's his career and he's made it. And obviously he looks a lot more balanced at the moment.
Definitely. Look, if I'm performing and consistent, uh, and something is not right in my batting, and someone comes up, I would still take that person's advice
Hmm.
and try it in the net. It's regardless you're performing or you're not performing. If someone is telling you something, at least try it in the nets. If it's helping, adapt it. If it's not helping, don't do it. Because in my opinion, that learning process never ends. Whatever you achieve in life. And I guess I really want uh, him to score runs consistently wherever he plays, and he has that ability.
Yeah, so this was obviously, for all of our listeners and viewers, recorded prior to Pakistan's Test series versus England. Shoaib bhai, you've worked with Babar, he's made some tweaks, and he's also resigned from white ball captaincy, so maybe that pressure is off of him. Do you expect him to start scoring runs again in that same fashion that he once used to?
Well, what I've noticed during Champions Cup tournament, uh, I've seen him, where he's indecisive about something. And maybe he was thinking of quitting captaincy, stepping down from captaincy so he can focus on his game. And but I think it's good. I always emphasize that he should not be captaining Pakistan side. He should just be focusing on his batting, because that way he can be more consistent. And I really want him to win games. He's been so consistent in scoring runs, but there's another step which he has to take, is like winning games for the country. So I think now he has one responsibility, and that responsibility is to stay consistent in his batting and win games for Pakistan. There is no additional pressure on him, and in my opinion, he can do a lot more. Maybe he can do a lot more as compared to old Babar when it comes down to consistency.
Thank you very much for coming on the podcast, and good luck in your mentoring role for the next 240 years.
Thank you. 240 years. Yes. So imagine I've played with 4 decade players. So if I will,
Did you
if
play
I
over four?
live,
You did. You played over 4 decades, didn't you?
Yeah, four
Yep.
decades.
Yeah, you-
So I started first. My debut was in 1999,
Yeah.
and so it's almost 4 decades.
So we did this once.
So
Did
if
you?
if I live for 240 years, so there'll be more decades.
Yeah, you're the Vince Carter of cricket. Vince Carter played in the NBA for 4 decades, although it is possible that he made slightly more money during his career than you did. But thank you very much for coming on.
Thank you so much.
All right, cheers.
Thank you.
Thanks to NV Play for their in-depth performance analysis in this project. Discover more about their incredible tools and solutions on their website.